What?
Gonna rock it now, gonna rock it now, right? Jackson Aurelia, Jackson Aurelia, gonna rock it now, gonna rock it now, rock it, Jackson Aurelia, T-Force.
Welcome to the rework of the T-Force, now we going hard cause we bumping at the beat source. It's a 3-course dinner of dudes bringing the news and stats, interviews and cash from the pro scene. So fresh and so clean, like you're leaning with Nami in the bot lane. Keep it hot like brand, practicing his dot game, give it to you easy like you're Resi in the bot game. Imagine Draven at prime time. Now ulti like LeBlanc can copy that 4 times, but manlier. Knock it up like now fight planning a family-er. You gotta be tuned in like Sona on the ad wall. Get on the chat call. Can a podcast really be all that? Of course. How do 4 guys make a Triforce?
Hey guys, welcome to Trinity Force Podcast. You're listening to episode number 184. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell. I am joined by 3 other guys. Dominic is here.
Just other guys today?
Just other guys.
We're not great guys?
No,
we're not a great
week.
group of guys?
Not this week.
Can't overuse it, then it doesn't mean as much.
I've overused it for
he's
80
used
episodes.
He's used it. Yeah. 180 episodes.
Maybe 184 episodes.
Yeah. But speaking of, you did not change the Twitch banner.
What's this tuber guy we've got with us today?
Well, apparently we have a carrot. I don't know. You're going to hear lots of typing in the background. Sorry.
An Australian carrot.
That's what I'd actually tune in to listen to, just typing in the background.
Oh, well, that's cute. I'm glad that
This
you're
guy,
here then.
His wonderful voice.
Well, we are down under for tonight's podcast with Carrot Colossus from the OzLOL podcast.
Hello,
Hi,
how you doing?
So
How you doing? Another
need-
shrimp on the barbie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we need more Australian.
Well done. I like it.
Thanks.
We need to talk about,
I'd
okay,
like to try.
so what is Foster's for beer?
It's terrible.
Or is
not
Foster's is Australian for beer?
No, it's
you gotta understand. Foster's is overseas for Australian beer.
No.
That's the reality.
You don't
no,
understand.
it's Australian for Australian.
You can't even buy Foster's on tap in a pub in Australia. Any pub in Australia, not one pub.
I call
That's
bullshit.
Foster's.
I call bullshit.
It's legit. I'm telling you,
Shenanigans.
it is shenanigans.
It's legit.
It is legit.
All right.
Foster's doesn't count.
If you guys are watching this live, I do apologize. We are having technical issues tonight with internet connections as DeClaw dropped the Dom Lee's at his cap, and apparently I'm going to drop at some point because I'm next on this bandwagon of awfulness.
We're fine. We
The
got
shit is
Audacity
rolling
running.
downhill.
It's that new Skype update that they pushed out.
I didn't even know there was a Skype update. But anyway, so let's move forward ahead. First and foremost, we have Lee from the OzLOL podcast. He is our sister podcast. Lee, just say something about it real quick. Everyone knows, but
Okay.
Go for it.
Cool. So we are an Oceanic podcast. We are on once a week. We now actually go live on Mondays at it's 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, which is actually
Eastern time now. Excuse
Yeah,
me for
it's
not
Eastern.
having it correct on
So-
the document.
No, that's fine. So basically, I think it's about it's 14 hours ahead of New York, of Eastern, like American Eastern Standard Time, West Daylight Time, or whatever it is. So anyway, if you just follow this channel, you get the notification.
Exactly.
And we, much like Trinity Force, we talk about how to get better at the game. We also, like the T-Force LCS rundown, we talk about the oceanic scene. So we're kind of a dual podcast in that regard. And it's myself, Stephen Clerical Aragastone, and Ralph Panabianco, Vesputi Panabianco. They're my 2 co-hosts.
Wow.
And they're great guys.
I will never
Fun.
remember that.
Yeah,
They're
that's
great guys.
So basically, we have a lot of fun, and people seem to really like our accents, which is kind of nice. So if you like Australian accents, you get 3 of them.
That's the only reason I brought you into
It's
the
Aboriginal.
network is because
that's it.
of the accent.
Yeah. That's okay. I got to use the gifts
Well,
that
no.
God has given me. I don't have, my face is not a virtue, so I got to go for radio. And
Well,
You know
I was
what?
gonna say-
I listened to the live, post after it was recorded. I listened to the live episode you guys did, and it was good. You guys meshed, and just like usual, you sounded really good.
Yeah.
Talk about ice cream cake and everything. So
Yep. Well, we just had our 1 year anniversary from when we started the podcast. So
Yay! Happy
Wait,
anniversary.
I picked you guys
Oswald.
up before you made it to a year. Jesus Christ, what was I doing? What was I thinking? I didn't even give you a year to get to work all the kinks out. Actually, you know what?
That's because we are the superior podcast. We don't need a year to sort out our kinks. That's how good we are.
Yeah, you didn't lose like 7 hosts in a year and have a whole new roster for 80 episodes.
It's actually we don't lose hosts, nor do we alienate them. So that's the key, Adam. That's the goal. Don't alienate people.
Surprised your current group has stuck around this long, Adam. We're close. I think DeClaude, Chira, and I have actually been on together for a year now.
Yeah, you guys have probably been on more episodes together than the other crew was ever. I think.
We definitely have, but that's because we're doing 2.
Yeah, no,
That's
you
twice a
definitely
week.
have because Hornet dropped out around like episode 70 or something, and
I
you guys
joined
have
on
been
like 75.
Yeah, look at that. So I do want to give a quick shout out for the Ozalil guys. Tim Walker, he has been producing the podcast, and I'll let Carrot talk about him a little bit, but Tim is doing a fantastic job. If you guys haven't noticed, the Trinity Force podcast network has a producer for each show, and Tim has been just doing great work with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's great to have, like, makes it easy we're doing the Oceanic Battle Arenas on Thursdays, so that's adding to things that we have to do, and we're having to sort of expand the show and what we do. So it's great. Tim does great work, and it's he does very mighty fine editing work, and so yeah, big shout out to him because he's a great guy.
It's leaps and bounds for episode like 10, huh?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And he actually, strangely, is always up at 3 a.m. when I contact him in the afternoon to say, hey, by the way, do this to the podcast this week. He's always there.
Is he really?
He must have like the weirdest sleep schedule. Like,
You know what's funny? I just
world.
happened to pick
always
the
available.
best producers for each style of show. Like I don't know how to explain it, but each of the guys I picked have just fitted with each of the shows perfectly. So, well, let's go ahead and move on for the next piece. You guys know all about battle arenas and all that. Go check it out on TrinityForcePodcast.com. We are a little behind because we're having a lot of fun bullshitting with Lee, but I do need to talk about our sponsor for this week, which is Pocket Aces backpack. Look at that as everything falls out. My granola
Look at
falls
that
out.
backpack.
Look at this backpack.
You should zip it up, probably, dude.
There is so many zippers in this backpack. I actually didn't take it with me to work today, as you can tell. So I'm going to go ahead and zip everything up here. But the Pocket Aces backpack, bit.ly/T-Force bag. Someone put it in the T-Force chat for me right now, please. So everyone go check it out. The Pocket Aces backpack, American only. Sorry, Lee.
Yeah, that's all right.
They have graciously donated one of these backpacks for us to take a look at. You guys can go buy one for $119. What it is and what makes this so great is this little nifty piece right here that plugs into a wall. It goes into a power strip on the side of the backpack that I just zipped up if you're watching live. And that power strip has 4 different slots, including one for a cell phone charger that comes with the bag when you buy it. And now you can plug in all your devices when you're in school. I don't know how many of you went to university or school or, to college or whatever the hell you guys want to call it with your funny money and your funny language. But if you've ever been into a funny money classroom, you've noticed that there's only one funny plug, and that funny plug can only do one funny. I'm just going to keep using the adjective funny because I think it's hilarious.
Yeah,
But
keep using it. It'll be funny.
there's only ever one plug in a classroom, so now you can be the hero of the day by bringing this in here and allowing everybody to plug their laptop or tablet or whatever it is into your bag. You'd be like, guys, look, I can just bring it out and zip it up, plug it in. They're like, what the fuck's going on? And then they plug into your backpack, and now you've made so many new friends, and you're going to parties and getting drunk and getting all the women because you had a backpack with a power.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Wow,
you'd be
that's
like,
a promise. That's impressive. If you
can
use
go
this
to-
backpack, you're gonna get laid.
find the pretty girl in the class and be like, hey, I noticed
David,
your phone's
hey.
running low on charge. I got
got you,
something
girl.
for you.
Girl, I got you.
You know what you do? You bring the back. You walk over the backpack, right? This is gonna be like a thing. You just walk over and you're like, "Hey, girl, I got you. Just hold on. Look at this." And you find the right zipper and you unzip it and you go, "All right, baby. Can I
Are you sure
pow-
that's
can
the
I
right
power
zipper?
you
I mean,
up?
really? When dealing with girls?
Oh, yep.
Can I plug you in?" You give them that weird stalkerish look, like, "Hey, baby, how you doing?" And
Hey,
then,
Hey, hon, you mind if I plug you?
I think we know how Adam went about these things in college.
What? No, this is all you learn about in college is how to plug holes. Let's be honest.
That's the weird stalkerish look.
No
I think
innuendo.
That's
It means fixing
that's
problems.
Adam's strategy. By the way, ladies, he's actually still single, so there you go.
Go figure. Weird how
No,
that
he's not.
happens.
He's married to the podcast. That's his real
That's true. That's true.
mistress.
Hey, girl, want to check out my granola?
Okay, yeah. It'll be in the bag, too.
It's from chat. Then I pull out some granola, but I don't really just the granola. Anyway, guys, go check that out at bit.ly/T-Force bag. Use code BACK, the number 2, school for $80 off. You get this $200 backpack for $120. It's fantastic. Please let us know if you buy one. Let's move forward because we just spent 20 minutes talking about backpacks and girls and bags and stuff and holes.
Listener episode. Some lucky listeners are going to get their questions read and discussed.
All right. So first and foremost, we're going to start with a question from Michael Escola. He is the bag sponsor. He wrote us in. He actually happened to write us in before he came with the backpack. And he happens to be the start of this week. Just weird how that coincides. But he wrote in and he was asking about when you were in the bottom lane and you are the AD carry and you have a support and you decide to go back first and then you come back to lane and the support is like, all right, it's my turn to go back. So now you're left in a weird 2v1 situation. How do I prevent that from happening? And can you guys talk about certain times that you should be going back when you are in bottom lane and how to get on the same wavelength with your partner to do that?
No, we can't talk about that.
Well-
we don't know how to talk about it at all.
What's this
I would say
backing
Dom would
thing?
have the best
I don't know
idea
what you're
about that.
talking
But,
Adam and I bot lane a lot, so
yeah. I would say try not to back unless you're forced to back, unless you've got the 1550 for your BF sword as the carry. That's
that
usually-
I mean, in the first,
I try to get 1300 as support so I can get a sightstone and finish my level 2 of the gold item, Targons or whatever it might be.
in the first like 8 minutes of the game, you definitely don't want to back unless you have the money to get your BF sword, unless your marksman has the money to get the BF sword, or either you've been you're just too low and sticking around means you're gonna die, or you've forced the enemy to go back. And that's the big thing a lot of people forget. They keep thinking that if they force their opponent to go back, they can just hang around in lane, and they're going to keep succeeding when the enemy comes back. Unless you do that like within the first, 3 minutes or something, that's not going to be the case. They are going to spend the money that they have earned and come back and be
They'll
more
have an advantage,
powerful
yep.
than you. If you don't base at that point, they're going to come and start winning the trades and then force you to go back, and they're ultimately going to come out ahead, whether it's through denying you experience or dealing damage to your turret, or even just taking control of taking vision control in certain areas, and you're not able to track it as well. Like, these are all advantages that you will give your opponent if you hang around and like give them that leg up for the next round of trades.
In all cases, though, you should kind of push as hard as you can right before backing. So hopefully
Yes.
a wave or two die to their turret or get damaged by it and they miss out on some XP. And then you have some breathing room so they don't damage your turret by the time you get back there.
You know, it's I think a giant misconception of bottom lane is you have to push to the turret to go back, and you have to get that maximum number of CS before you go back. You should really be going back when you have the money to afford that next big upgrade, like Dom had just mentioned. And it's okay to leave the lane in the middle of the lane or just outside of middle when you go back. Because unless it's pushing in your favor, as in you have more minions than they do, and you're going to come back to it pushed into their tower, that's what you don't want. Essentially, you don't want to come back with the wave pushed into their tower. You want the wave pushed toward you or pushed left in the middle. So you should be leaving when it's most advantageous for you to leave. If that means that it's dead even, both waves have just made it, and you're backing, that's okay. You can miss a wave of CS to get your next item.
Something else worth keeping in mind, something I see a lot of is that people, so they trade, they might get kills, and then they hang around to farm some more when they're really low. And that just gives the jungler enough time to get to a position where they can gank. And I see that all the time. So really, if you're super low after a trade, I'd suggest going back. Like, maybe get one or two more minions, like just mop up the ones that are low right now and then going back straight away. Because if the jungler's nearby, you might be giving up an easy double kill. And I mean, that's true of every lane as well. Like you see that in top. Right. People trying to get a bit more farm, people trying to push the towers. No, if you hang around, the jungler will come and get you. You're better off just going back and missing. Yeah, you might miss out 1 or 2 CS, but you didn't die, and that's the most important thing.
Greed is not always good. I know that Blizzard put that in your head that greed is good, but in the bottom lane specifically, like you said, if you just mopped it up and you were the only person left standing because they got a kill on your support, don't get greedy and push. It's the same thing for top lane. Top lane's even more so in this case, where it's you get a kill and you really just want to push it to the tower, but by the time it's going to take you to push it to the tower in the early levels isn't worth the amount of gold that you received or the experience that you're going to give the enemy when they run back to the tower. Because they'll make it back to the tower by the time you've pushed the lane to it. And now they have this giant wave. Yeah, they're missing out on all that CS, but they're either even level with you at this point where you had an advantage, a second advantage, or they are going to get pushed ahead of you in levels because you pushed such a big wave into them. So something that we, as a podcast, hardly talk about is the experience that you're giving an enemy by pushing waves to them.
Right, you're feeding them the experience, even though they might not be able to get all the last hits because the turret makes it harder. But in my opinion, it's easier to time when the enemy's not there. So you'll get every single one.
And probably something worth adding, if as part of a broader sort of group of people to talk to, if you're a jungler and your bot lane is low because they just got a couple of kills, it's actually probably worth, and they're not backing because they're not being smart. It's actually probably worth being in a position to counter gank, because smart junglers got to go for that. It's like, honey to the bee. They're going to come in. They're going to try and get those kills. And if you can be there to counter gank, then you might be able to pick up an easy kill and set the other jungler back. So that's if you're a jungler, that's worth keeping in mind.
That applies to mid lane too. If you get it, like if you notice a skirmish is going on in bot lane, you should really glance down there and figure out what it's going to take. If you want to go to the LCS level, we saw Prolly just clean up in I can't even remember which complexity game it was, but he just he saw a skirmish was going down and it just ended up being a really drawn out thing. He got down there, didn't even have to alter anything, and he just murdered everybody in his sight. I did it the other day in a game with Adam. He was top lane, but it was still like, hey, I'm coming up.
And I sacrificed myself for him. I knew I was going to die, so you lay down everything you have.
I got a double kill out of the deal, so it was totally worth it for our team at that point.
Right. And I think that's another thing people don't to kind of expand on this question is if you're running away and you see your jungler or your mid laner running to you and you know you're going to die, but you know the limitations of your champion, such as like Maokai, where you get that extra heal off, it's worth it to lay everything you have down to give your team that double kill if they can secure it. That's one of those where it's an advanced game technique where you understand how much damage the enemy can do, you understand how much damage you can do, and everything taken into play. But for example, what Dom was talking about, I was Maokai, got ganked by Twisted Fate and Jarvan. Those are the only two, and I laid down enough damage and enough DPS that he could just mop up the entire fight.
Yeah, you know what? This happened. This happened actually in a Challenger game yesterday. I forget the team and the player, but Alistar was really, really low. And he was withdrawing, and the enemy team was pressing near the Baron pit. And he had to run away. But then his team got there, so he flash pulverized, even though he had less than 200 health left, and his ult was already spent. He flash pulverized. Yep, controlled that fight and got them the kill. And he ended up surviving. So it was pretty sweet. It's like, oh, man, that took some balls. He recognized, I'm going to sacrifice myself, and he was rewarded. He survived.
I mean, really, that's got to do with getting out of the mindset that you personally have to carry and getting into the mindset that my team needs to win. And I mean, I think that's, that's true of a lot of things, like people chasing after kills that are not worth as much as getting a tower or getting an objective. Right. That's part of the issue as well. So, it's a general good thing for everybody is to think, I don't need to carry. I need my team to win. How do I get my team to win? And then that's, I guess maybe as a support, and I'm sure Dom can attest to this as well. You start because you don't carry usually. You get into the mindset, so it's that's what you need to sort of embrace.
It's funny for me. It's funny that you bring that up because I've been trying to play more mid lane to become a more well-rounded player, and I'm comically bad at it. And one of the things I keep noticing is that I don't I get angry at myself for my individual performance, but I don't really care if I go into fights. I go into fights, I don't care if I get kills or not. I only care that we win the fight and then we take the next objective and everything. No matter how hard I try, I can't ditch the support mentality that I have. And most of the games that I play in mid, I end up with way, way more assists than I do kills.
Yep.
And that's fine. Mid lane will usually do that. You can support from the
Not when you're playing Ari. You're supposed to get kills.
That's why I laughed at you the other day. I know we had
you're right about Ari.
Skirmish, but
for example, Ziggs is one who gets more assists than kills.
When you have your AD carry though, or you're feeding a carry jungler like a Skarner, Lee, J4, whatever, and they're getting fed and you're getting the assists, it's just as much worth it as the opposite way around because of the jungle presence and everything. So yeah, it really is coming out. It's playing to win. Either you're playing to win or you're playing to lose.
Now, don't use this selfless advice as a crutch, though, or as an excuse. Like, if you are really, really low and you go, I'm going to go in and control them, guys, and they're nowhere near to be able to help you, and you just die and say, oh, what the hell, guys? Come on. I sacrificed myself for you.
I just went in to give you the kills.
No, so you still have to gauge your team's positioning and be aware.
So we went from backing in bottom lane to selfless playing.
Yep. So
this is how we do.
So back when you have gold for your next big item, BF Sword, Sightstone, or support when you're out of wards and you're out of vision. And I like to push it before I back, but usually when they're not there, if they're backing, but if they're also there, Adam makes a good point where you're feeding them experience. So,
sorry, go ahead, Dom. You were trying to talk.
I was just gonna say, like, once you're past kind of that early game, let's just say the first 10 minutes, once you have your BF sword, then it's kind of, you really just have to feel out the lane. Because if you've pushed down their turret, but you don't really have the enemy jungle warded up, you can't push too far outside of that.
Right.
Well, you're playing the trade at that point. With the BF sword, once you get your BF sword, you're playing the trade. You're not playing to CS.
Nope. Right, but I meant if you push down their turret, that pretty much changes everything because laning, as far as you're concerned, is over. So you should be trying to go to another lane and do something there. But if you can't accomplish anything and you're still trying to get the CS that's in bottom lane, you sort of have to just maximize your time on the map. And so if you have a bunch of gold, go back and invest that money and then try to turn that into an objective rather than just continuing to farm.
Posture for
but yeah, otherwise, like Adam said, if you go back and you get the BF sword and the enemy turret isn't down, you should be trying to trade. You should be trying to leverage the window of opportunity that you have in front of you there, because in theory, ideally, you have a leg up. Just because you have the sword and they don't. They have a pickaxe, or they have a vamp scepter, or they have nothing, and then just push your window of opportunity and try and drive the wedge wider rather than letting them close it and turn the game on you.
When you are ahead, get more ahead.
Yep. And if you can get a kill, then go for dragon. There's your objective right there.
That was the thing that Azubu Blaze did very, very well way back in Season 2. That was it. They knew how to take a small window of opportunity and turn it into, all they needed to win a game.
Right.
That was why they, everybody was, all the North American marksmen were buying Infinity Edges at that stage of the game, and they were buying the Bloodthirster because that gave them, they could get it faster, that gave them an earlier window of opportunity that they could turn around and win the game faster.
Right. That's the thing from the original Battle Arena back with Optimus Tom that he always said back in 2011, 2012 was, when you are ahead, the objective is to get more ahead. So what can you do with the least risk reward, or least risk, highest reward to get ahead? That's what you have to be looking at the entire time. Can I zone this person out rather than pushing the lane in the bottom lane now that tower is down? And can my enemy team use that to their advantage? Or can I push them to a turret and roam and start taking jungle objectives and catching the jungler? Can I push and roam to mid? Can I push and roam and get dragons? You have to figure out what is best for your team and what your team can do during that point in the game with what items they have and make the calls based on that.
The worst thing you can do in any lane is go back when you don't need to. There's nothing worse than the players who push the lane, go back, return to lane, push it, go back. I mean, a lot of people do it, though. I mean, I don't remember who it was. I know the other day we had I was playing with a marksman one day. He was Lucian, and he would just push the lane, and then he'd want to go back right away. It's as a support, I didn't have money to spend. I was going back just because I was giving him a movement speed steroid to get back to lane faster or something like that. Also knowing that if I stayed around and stuck around in lane by myself, I would die. That was just the reality of the situation there. But it's you deny yourself so much experience and everything just by doing that, because the lane still, minions keep coming. Just because it's pushed doesn't stop the enemy minions from spawning, and eventually it's going to move back out in the lane. You're not going to get all of the CS if they're fighting under the enemy turret, but you should be able to get some, and you can still, keep putting pressure on.
Can I just add? I'm sure we're going to move on to something else in a second. I just want to add, also, you need to be careful at early levels, like when you haven't gone back to buy for the first time, is the rubber banding. That is, you're low, send them back to base, but you don't go back to base. You push the tower, they come back with items, kill you, and then they take your tower because they're just have further bit ahead that they can actually take down your tower, and then you're at a significant disadvantage. You're much more vulnerable to ganks, and you're still pushing up against the tower. They can go off and roam and do other things. And you have to push all that lane, all the extra distance, and you're up against the tower, and it just creates.
And if it's an early tower, it's not like it's easy to just take the tower. It's one thing if you're like 12, 15 minutes into the game and the marksman actually has some items, and it's another if it's like 6 minutes in.
Right. Yeah. Before you back the first time. Yep.
That's it. So, I mean, that's something you need to be aware of, especially if there's a very prolonged period of time of skirmishing and engages, like, before people go back. If they come back with lots of items, if they go back, you should go back as well, so that when they come back, they can't just roll over you and take your tower and leave you. Because then if they start to group with your team and they start to put pressure on mid or pressure on top, you have to move to stop them. And so now essentially your lane, that bottom tower is never going to get. It's going to take a very long time for the minions to take down that tower. So, yeah, keep that in mind as well.
Think of the wise words of the Starks, when you haven't backed but the enemy has. Think the ominous feeling of winter is coming. They're coming back to lane and they're going to be stronger. So, be careful.
Well, I think we've beat that one to death. We've gone every which way we could. Hopefully, you guys learned quite a bit from that question.
Beaten it and everything around it.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move on to Gorath's question. Gorath, why do you have so many questions in my document?
Because you have not sent me all of the other questions that need to go in here.
Oh my God, we're gonna answer so many Gorath questions because I didn't send you all the other questions. Well, Gorath, tonight is your lucky night because I have like 30 other questions.
That is on you.
And Adam here was saying that you needed a backpack to get lucky.
You need a backpack full of questions that you can just pull out every time. Listen, my
you should write the questions down and put them in the backpack and pull it out.
Best idea!
Oh my God!
I'm doing it. That's happening on Monday. The backpack is going to be the question bag.
Isn't Gorath from Betrayal at Krondor?
I don't have any idea what that is.
That's an old PC game.
All right, Gorath writes, if I am forced into a role I am less competent in, for me, top and mid, is it better for me to just realize I am most likely going to lose lane and try to farm on a turret and take golems or white, or should I ask for more ganks and try to get ahead of the other laner via ganks? Or is there another thing that I can help with this? Or help me?
You should never assume that everybody's it's not. People can be stupider than you, like in this game. Like, you have no idea who you're up against. So automatically assuming that you're likely to lose is probably not the best mindset. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying you should go out there and go ham and because you're definitely going to win because you're smarter than the enemy. But, just assuming that
you can or can't, you're right.
Yeah.
I am uniquely qualified to answer this question right now because I've been playing a lot of mid, which is a role that I am less competent in. What you should be doing here isn't necessarily just trying to farm under tower. Like, you shouldn't assume you're going to lose, but you should give your opponent considerable respect until you feel out his or her specific skill level. You should try to treat it like any other lane. You're trying to trade, you're trying to keep them on their toes and everything, and you want to do what you can to CS. Manage your resources as well as you are able. Sometimes it's going to mean using your abilities a little bit more than you'd like to last hit, but just do whatever it's going to take to keep you relevant in the game and play cautiously. If you're not comfortable, that means the jungler might notice or somebody else might be able to smell it on you basically. Ward up and just do your best to avoid getting ganked and that type of thing, because just by virtue of you not dying, you are not giving them money and experience, and that's going to keep your team closer into the game than they would be if you were just reckless. And
good point.
If you are at that point, what I want you to do is I want you to sit back in your chair like this, as you can see in the stream, and I want you to take a deep breath in and out. And I want you to go, I can do nothing at this point but get the most CS that I possibly can. I'm going to try. All I'm going to try to do is CS under the tower. All I'm going to try to do is get a CS here and there, and I am going to try to help out wherever possible and hope that my team is doing something in my absence. You just have to tell yourself that you need to not die. That is your only objective. Yeah. The number one thing, and I said this on Journey to 30 tonight, was if you are learning to play League of Legends or any MOBA, just don't die. I don't care if you are 3 levels behind. It is better than not dying.
See, I like to sit back and say, okay, I'm going to not suck. My goal is to not suck at the worst area of my game, which for me is laning. I'm just, having played as much support as I have, I am terrible at CSing and trading while trying to CS. Like, I'm bad at it. And then I'm going to be as meaningful as I can possibly be during the other stage of the game. For me personally, I tend to have pretty good sense as far as roaming goes, and I'm a lot better in team fights and that type of thing just due to my player habits at this point. That's not the same for everybody else. There are some people who are really good early game mechanical players and terrible when it comes to anything that involves a team fight. They would rather just split push. That's not the only thing you can do in the game. Just acknowledge where your strengths are. Do the best you be as meaningful as you can during the areas that are your strength, and just make it a goal to be effective without hurting your team. Understand where your weaknesses are, and then that's where you can really start to improve.
And call when your lane opponent is missing, too. You're helping in that respect as well. Because if you're getting trounced, they might roam.
Also, pick champions that are actually going to help you play safe. Don't go and pick some champion that requires you to go crazy and get early kills and all that sort of stuff. Pick champions, like when I play top, when I first started playing top, because I play mainly support, or almost exclusively support. Cho'Gath is a good one for top. He can't carry, but he's relatively easy to CS with. He's incredibly safe. If you just try to play safe, you just sit there, farm up, get big, and eventually you get so tanky that it's very hard for them to kill. And basically you just then roam around the game being too tough to kill. Ryze, I actually quite like Ryze in top lane as well. I think he's another champion that you just sit and farm with. If you're playing safe, he's actually not too bad.
I actually disagree with the Ryze pick because I think he's too hard to play. I don't think he's a bad pick. I think if you're going to pick any champion in top lane, no matter, he's out of the meta completely, but Kennen. I would 100% absolutely tell you to play Kennen at this point in time. He's going to teach you skill shots. He's going to teach you how to poke in between picking up CS, and he's going to teach you how to manage your passive eventually. He has everything to teach you in steps.
I have a friend who is a not terribly skilled player, and but he's gotten to know some pretty highly skilled people. And they just spectated his game one day and everything just to sort of offer some pointers. And finally, the one guy was like, you need to stop playing champions that have skill shots because you're not good at hitting them. You should play Ryze. Ryze has nothing but single target abilities. You don't ever have to worry about missing things unless you don't know how to click on the right target, and that's a different problem altogether. And sure enough, just by playing Ryze, because he didn't have to worry about skill shots anymore, it kind of helped turn him around, at least in his ability to play mid and top lane.
I get it.
I mean, the reason. Sorry, you go.
I was gonna say that I get it. I'm not mad at the Ryze. I think there are better top champions, and I'm not gonna tell you not to play Ryze. Absolutely go play him in the top lane. The reason I wouldn't choose him is because he's hard to play if you're not playing with Smartcast. So if you're still learning the game and still learning how to play top, and you're not playing Smartcast, he's much more difficult because it's 6 clicks tier 3. You know?
See, I disagree with you because the type of player that this applies to is relatively new or having difficulty succeeding with champions that have a lot of skill shots, and so having these single target champions, or champions where they don't have to worry about anything other than really big skill shots. Vlad comes to mind, Katarina. I mean, these are champions that don't require that accuracy side of the equation. They are going to put that person in a position to be more effective.
I would say when you're uncomfortable in a role, pick a champion that has an escape and just hold on to it. Don't use it to engage. Hold on to it in case the shit hits the fan. Have your little oh shit bar. So if the jungler shows himself, oh crap, dash away, whatever you've got. So I would say have that. If you're uncomfortable in a role, have a way to get out. And then sit there trying to CS, and then should you need it, boom, you use that escape and disengage.
I mean, the reason I guess I like the Rise is it means that if I just focus on farming, I can still have a meaningful impact later in the game. That's why I personally like Rise, and that's because I mean, really, the trading aspect for me in top lane is where I guess I'm most anxious. I'm not familiar with matchups as much. I'm not familiar with how to maximize like the trades and all that sort of stuff. So if I can, if I can just focus on farming, then I can sort of try and make sure that I'll be relevant later on, and that's why I like Rise, because he can just do that, and as long as you play him safe, which I always try to, I pretty much don't ever go across the river. I always stay back, always keep wards up. I feel like that's it. Yeah, I hold on to I just if I have any inkling that the jungle is going to be around, I'm just like, no, back off. It's better that I hang back and don't die, that I keep my tower, than going crazy. And then eventually, with Rise, he gets to the point where you actually can start trading because he gets his power spike once he starts getting raw and all the rest of it. So
it's funny that we're talking about this right now, the top lane and what to play, because I was on Journey to 30 tonight. If you guys aren't brand new to this game or have just hit 30 or ever low bronze, you should definitely go listen to that. It's a YouTube-only show right now, but we talk about top lane, and you guys are talking about Rise, and I specifically said on that podcast that I don't think Rise is good, and I actually agree with All Time in the chat right now, because I think he's one of those few champions that need specialized runes or specific runes for him to be played to his maximum potential. However, I get that the game is way different at like fresh level 30 than when you're playing in silver. Like you could roll, you're right, you could roll your face as Rise and win, no problem. But if people are willing to play this game, I just think there's other ways to get better at this game, like forcing yourself to hit skill shots. Dom's story about laughing about how his friend couldn't hit skill shots, I would tell him, you need to play this champion and you need to force yourself to learn how to hit skill shots, because 90% of the champions in this goddamn game have skill shots. I don't know. You could play Katarina for 1,000 games if you wanted to, but...
And it's so satisfying when you hit those skill shots still. I agree with you on that. Try to learn them. If you're bad at it first, sure, whatever. But try to practice. It's so much more satisfying when you hit them.
Go play Smite, where everything is a skill shot. So,
plus, if people are ducking in and out of bushes, you can hit them if you don't have skill shots. You're like, didn't click fast enough, but skill shots.
Oh, I'm not in range because my range and Rise is like this big on the map. Right.
I mean, probably in mid lanes, if you're happy to go with skill shots, Ziggs is a really, as I'm sure Declawed can attest to.
Oh yeah.
Ziggs is a great mid lane, and even though he's been nerfed a bit, I think probably at a non-competitive level, at a low elo level, he's probably still pretty good. And he's just super safe. I mean, really, I think mid's probably got some of the easier, safer champions to play, compared to top, where it's a bit more melee focused, a bit more risk involved. So.
At least Ziggs can satchel away, but you got to get the hang of that one. So if you're new with him, you might satchel into the enemy. Oh, oops. I was on the wrong side of that one.
Even just in terms of farming and, just being safe, hanging back, he's got good range.
CS with your bouncing bomb,
That's it. So
well, we'll go ahead while we wait for Dominic to be back in this podcast. And does anyone know what time Dom dropped out at? No. We'll say like 37 minutes. I just got to mark it in the document here.
Yeah, that's probably about it.
Cool. So we pretty much hit that one.
All right, we're going to move on to Seagrove, who is a caster for Bronze Battle Arena. He writes in. I'm waiting for... There we go. Under what circumstances is it better to die and save your flash than to use flash and live?
Never.
No. Well, I'd say when you're still going to die if you've got flash.
Yeah. I mean, if flash saves your life, use it.
Yeah.
Sometimes
if it's not going to save your life,
don't use it.
I get this question because there are times where you have flash and you say to yourself after the fact, I should have used it. You should, in my opinion, you should burn flash at the first inkling that you are going to die. If you know that champion is going to come in with a stun, Jarvan is going to EQ you and you know you're going to get hit by it, flash it. Because it's better to have lived than to die, like I said earlier, and it's better to have blown that flash and now learn to play safe. Because when you have flash, the longer that you have flash and don't use it, I'm under the impression that players start to play more and more recklessly because they're not being taken advantage of because of their reckless behavior. So if it's 10 minutes in and you haven't had to blow flash, you're going to play more recklessly than if it was 5 minutes in.
That's a really good point. Like, now that I think about it, I can't remember the last time I died with flash up where it would have been a situation where flash would have saved me or anything. Like, you just... if you start using flash, you start to develop the spider sense, just the warning sign, like knowing when flash is going to be what it takes to get you out of trouble, or at least possibly get you there. And then there are times when it's like, no, I'm fucked. It doesn't, I'm not going to bother using flash. It's just a waste of my summoner.
I flashed and died anyway because I was just flashing back in lane and the turret wasn't there. It wasn't terrain I could use to get over. I just gained a little distance and then they could close it better.
See, I'm talking like those situations where you just get it's a 1v3, you're just dog piled on, and flash isn't going to do you any good because they have flashes or whatever else. It doesn't matter.
That's when you hold it.
But there are people who think, hey, maybe if I flash, it's like, well, don't do it there. But yeah, generally speaking, if you think you're gonna use it if you think it's gonna you're gonna die or something like that.
I would just use it. Just force yourself to use it. That's one of those where you feel like you should. It's like if you played Final Fantasy where you felt like you should always save your Phoenix Downs, and by the end of the game you have, or elixirs. I think it was elixirs that gave you life and mana.
Oh. I used to do that.
And then by the end of the game, you have 99 of them, and you're on the last boss, and you're like, well, I could have used this to kill the Mega Weapon or the Omega Weapon. Why didn't I use it then? Because you're just too greedy with what you have, and you're going to have another chance to use it.
It's not even that. It's a misperception of the value of something. It's always going to be more valuable right now than it's always really valuable right now, but people try to assume it's going to be more valuable later on if they're going to have it at that moment. And the reality is you should never say what if and everything. Just use it and then figure out how to deal with the next situation without flash, without your elixir, whatever it is, when that comes up.
I guess it comes down to game sense, and that's really kind of something that you can only develop over time and through experience and trial and error. So, yeah, if you're starting out, use your flash. But over time, I guess, as you play more and more, you sort of realize, okay, well, this is not going to save me, or I'm not in danger right now. I don't actually need to flash. Especially, I've been playing Alistar recently. It's much easier to use my ultimate, soak up all the damage they're trying to load on me, and then just walk to the tower, and I'm still safe. I don't need to burn a flash.
Right.
Where other champions, if you're a squishy champion, you might actually flash before they even get in range. If you're say a Vi,
Absolutely.
you don't want that Vi to get into range. So it's better that you flash now before she even gets to you, and then warding up and playing safe and making sure she's not still lurking around. Then letting her get to you and get her ultimate onto you, and then allowing her to get the kill. So it really comes down to game sense and trial and error. In a sense, there is no wrong answer. You just need to develop that game sense so that you just intrinsically know this is a situation where it's worth using flash. This is a situation where it's not, and that's true of flashing in to use an ability. That's true of lots. All the uses of really everything.
I like that you brought up Alistar. I just want to touch on this real quick with Alistar because Flash is so good on him for the Flash engages. His ultimate has such a short cooldown. Why not use it if you're in danger and walk away if you can?
Yep.
So I like that point.
I think, what was I going to say with Flash, is that also properly using Flash, especially in top lane or mid lane when ganks are going to happen, you have to have Twitch reflexes sometimes to use Flash properly, because you can't flash and then Elise hits you, or you can flash and Elise will hit you with that cocoon. You have to flash when that cocoon is coming out, and you have to try to figure out when she's going to drop that cocoon on you. That's just one person, right? It could be a number of people that could do the same thing. You mentioned Vi earlier. Vi could flash ult you. You just have to, you have to have the game sense that she's going to do it at this point because she doesn't have another point to do it. And when you flash that, you survived. Now you can play more passive than you did before, and that goes back to playing recklessly as you have it. There's this whole spinning boulder downhill bullshit, where what is it? A rolling boulder is gonna get more mass and more speed. That's the same thing gonna happen. You're gonna play more and more recklessly.
Yeah, and if you're blitz, flash to your turret and grab.
Thank you. A snowball.
Those are awesome.
Snowball is gonna roll down the hill and gain more.
Like Mad Mardigan and Willow.
I guess another thing, I guess this feeds back into our first point about what we're talking about, supports having a sense of how to win the game for the team. If you're in a situation where you're in the bot lane and you've been dogpiled by 4 people and people are going to die, then I've found that it's often worth it if, as a support, to just turn around and go away from my tower.
I do that all the time.
From the AD carry, because people generally the bloodlust is there, they want to get killed, and they'll grab the first thing they can. So often
it's the expression like a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush or whatever it is.
Bush, yeah.
I mean, like they're going to go for the kill they know they can get. If the support is dogpiled on and the marksman's fleeing and everything, the support running away just ensures that they'll never go for the marksman. If the support tries to run towards the marksman, they will try to get the marksman along the way, but they're always going to get the kill that they know they can get. Like that's just.
Well, as a support, one of your number one jobs is to protect your AD carry, and if that means dying, then you've done your job.
So if in that situation you may not like rather than giving them a double kill, you say, okay, I'm not going to burn my flash. I'm going to go back into the river, away from the turret, away from AD carry. They're all going to jump on me. My carry will get away safe. I'll keep my flash for another time, and then they'll actually comparatively come out worse because they instead of getting the double kill and a tower, they've got a single kill and they're not there to push the tower. And so I mean that's something else worth keeping in mind if you're particularly a support. And I guess a jungler maybe to a lesser extent.
You need to minimize your losses.
In a team fight situation. That's it. Yeah.
If there are situations in this game where you're going to lose, bits and pieces. They're
economics.
Yeah. So
we've talked about it a few times. It's just the economics of the game. You have to understand where your losses are going to come from. Minimize those. Don't worry about them. Try to maximize your gains.
Just like regular business.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
I think that pretty much covers that question. Who else do we have in this that's not Gorath or Seagrove? Terror and Pain writes in, as a jungler, how do I beat Trick 2G wannabe solo killers? What would be a good counter pick to Udyr? And if it's too late to counter, what can I do in game?
This is a question for Chira.
It is very much a question for Chira.
I was really hoping you wouldn't read this one. I understand why you did it, but I was really hoping you wouldn't.
Considering the last... Oh, wait, we have a grappler question in here, too. So, considering 3 questions are Gorath, 1 is grappler, and 1 is Terror and Pain, and then I have about 30 more in the inbox that I haven't forwarded on. Yeah.
As a support,
good
honestly...
podcast management there.
I've been busy.
As a support, honestly, great counter picks to Udyr are Janna and Alistar. Just anything that stops Udyr from getting to you and doing what Udyr does is a great champion to have. And Janna is very, very good the longer the game goes on and everything. Just having the absurd amount of disengage that she brings can be very, very effective for a team. It's easy to screw your own team over with Janna, but...
Do you want a better pick in Alistar? General map awareness and understanding how to protect your jungler.
Into Udyr, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, Udyr. I say Janna.
No, you said Alistar. I was like, what?
Including wards.
Honestly, the best pick in
your jungle.
God damn it, did it again. The best pick into Udyr is wards and game sense and understanding. Your top and mid, I understand that you're relying on 2 other people, but if you are either one of those positions, you need to understand that if an Udyr, you see him running through the jungle and you're top or mid, your job has no longer become the CS, it's protect your jungler. It's protect your jungler's camps. It's ping. Hey, he's here, so your jungler knows. It's either ping, so the jungler knows that he's the Udyr is at race, or it's collapse on the Udyr. We could name off a number of champs that could duel or play pretty well against Udyr, but the long and the short of it is
Morgana also come to mind. It's just like these are all.
That's like mid and late game. We need to think of
even early game.
About it's top jungle and mid.
Udyr is so predictable as far as his game. Like if you see Udyr, he's going to run at you. It's very, very predictable what he's going to do. I know,
but that's not the Trick 2G style of play. Trick 2G style of play is counter jungle, farm, and counter jungle and farm, and just pick people off.
Yeah, no, then you're 100% right. Just ward up your jungle and punish him for showing up there. Make him afraid to come into your jungle. That's not hard to do. Like, if your opponent starts doing that and you're the jungler, communicate that to your team. Be like, listen, guys, we need to ward up my jungle, and we need to punish this fucker when he comes in here so he stops disrespecting us.
Yeah. And I mean, something that I'm still amazed when I see this attitude, but, you get people who are in mid and top who just think that it's somebody else's job to ward. And, as a support, I guess I'm pretty active in warding. That's part of my job. But, if you're a mid or top mate, it is on you to try and ward your jungle entrances, or, at least, especially if you've got a big counter jungler, because, otherwise you're just essentially letting them get to a stage where they're just going to just run all over you. You know, they're just going to destroy your team, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. So it's really important that you actually help your jungler, actually be a team player rather than just being a solo.
Shut
jerk.
up! Be a team player. Shut up!
I've gotten into the habit as mid player
best.
of buying a pink ward on my
Yep.
either first or second back. Blue side, for example, putting it in your red side, that bush that can see the river ramp, and right by your wraiths. Put one in there. If you see him coming into there, he'll either one try to kill your pink ward, and that's giving you more time to collapse on him. Sometimes it's a good bait, or two, you just see him, and it's worth it. So
I love playing with Punchinello because he reliably buys wards. Everybody else, varying degrees of buying wards and communicating it to me, but Punch, like, he doesn't even say anything, and he always has a ward, and he's very good at even knowing where he needs to put it down.
I'm too selfish and greedy of a player to buy wards all the time.
Oh yeah, you never buy wards on Marksman.
I'm just too.
Thanks,
too greedy.
Dyrus.
Yeah, I'll do in top lane. Like top lane, I buy wards all the time, and I drop them everywhere.
That's why it surprises me that you never buy them on Marksman. Like you have this habit, and you know that they're helpful, and yet you don't do it.
I'm too greedy of a player. Like I would rather get that one CS than go and spend that second to ward and miss that CS. Like that's how greedy I am as an ADC. I feel like I need anything and everything that can give me an advantage. So
your trinket burns a hole in your pocket until
that's
you
why.
switch to the
The only way he wards with the trinket is if I tell him that he needs to ward.
Pretty much. That's why I get rid of that ward as soon as I can and get a Sight Stone or a Scryer's Orb. So that way I don't even have to worry about using it. Like it just sits there and sits there until we need it.
So I think generally we agree wards are the way to counter the Trick 2G style Udyr players.
Wards and awareness. Wards and awareness.
Wards awareness and the willingness to collapse when you see them.
You have to give it up.
Time just go up, he's over here, ping, but sit there CSing. No, run in and help.
And probably the only other thing you could add to that is when you're in a situation where you've killed the jungler, go and take one of his camps or go and put him behind a bit somehow. That's if he's relying on farming like crazy and you've got a situation, maybe you've gone to Dragon and he came out to sort of stop you and you killed him, take Dragon and then you take a camp. Or, actually actively, I think that's the best way to deal with heavy farm junglers is actually go up and mess up their shit in their jungle. Set them behind, like try and, because it's very hard to roam around their jungle trying to pick him off again, unless you as well have a strong counter jungler. But just do what you can to make sure that they can't get into the game.
Yeah, counter jungle all time laughing. Kappa counter jungle yourself. Only leave one minion up so he can't come in and counter juggle it. It's a total troll strategy. Don't do it, but it's funny.
It's like the Fiora and the Maokai, so you're not giving him his stacks for his passive.
Right. What is
Earn your
that
own
face,
damn
Dom?
stacks.
I'm looking at the world schedule.
Oh yeah, we get to be up at like 3 or 4 a.m. on Sunday.
Yeah, it's awful.
Suckers.
Damn it.
After
2
2 years
a.m.
of being
2
up
a.m.
at
to 8 a.m. PDST or PDT. So that's
Welcome what I had
for
to
me
deal
that's
with after
midnight.
Oh, that's not even bad. No, wait, you said 2 a.m.? That
starts at 2 a.m.
That's 5. That's 5 a.m. That's 4 a.m. for you.
That still sucks.
Oh, good point. Yeah, good point.
Is that 5 a.m. on Monday or is that 5 a.m. on Sunday?
September 18th through 21st.
I don't know. I don't know.
And then
times.
then the 25th through the 28th.
Well, it's October 19th. October 19th is the finals. The World Finals is on October 19th.
Oh yeah, that's 2 a.m. The World Finals is
2 a.m. PDST or PDT.
PDT. It's 3 a.m. for you.
Wait, no. Is it 2 a.m. PDT?
12 a.m. PDT.
Oh, so it's what the fuck? They start at 3 a.m. on a Monday.
October 19th.
So this is the greatest thing. We already talked about this yesterday. You guys know you've heard us talk about Punchinello and Urtai and stuff, and what happened last year at the World's Party.
No, it's 3 a.m. on a Sunday, I think.
So that Sunday, it's 3 a.m. that Monday.
No, it's 3 a.m. that Sunday. They're ahead of us.
Oh, so it's Saturday. So like we would hang out all day Saturday, go into Sunday morning at 3 a.m.
Yeah, it's Sunday morning at 3 a.m.
Oh, that's fucking awesome. I already talked to Cheer about this. I said, Cheer up, we're gonna get there early. We're gonna day drink all day. We're gonna get drunk, pass out, and wake up, and then watch the World Finals at 3 a.m.
Guys. Do you need me to sign or co-sign anything? Because you guys are off on a tangent.
I knew that was coming. No, we're ending the podcast now because we're about
okay.
we're just at the end of the podcast, so it's perfect. But If any of you guys are in the Columbus area, let us know, because we're probably going to do a meetup in the Columbus area for Worlds on we'll be there on October 18th. I don't know where and time and stuff yet, but if you guys are in the Columbus, Ohio area, I'm going to have Rekaren, myself, Ponophobia, Chira Jaden, and the other two guys. I'm sure will be around. If they want to join us, they can. But the three of us will be somewhere in the Columbus, Ohio area to meet up during the day to talk League of Legends and stuff. And I want to set that up. I just decided right now it's happening. And I know Chiro will totally be down for it. So,
if you happen to be in Seoul or Busan, I'm hoping to actually be there at Worlds, since it's never going to be any cheaper than it will be this year for me to get there. So I'm currently in the process of convincing my wife that she wants to have a holiday in South Korea, and I think I'm almost there. So I think I should be able to make it. So if you want to, hang out with me, might be able to do it. It'll be good. Oof. I'm excited.
I can fly there. I am not driving that.
What? Are you going to come? Do you want to come? You should come hang out with us for the World. You should do it.
Dude, it's
I would so go if I could, but
what, to fly into Columbus?
$330.
Well, that's not that bad. I thought it was gonna be like $500. I mean, I know $300 is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong.
The donation fund
that's
there,
not. It's not cheap.
No, I'm just not saying cheap.
Adam will buy it for you.
It's a 12-hour drive. That's not happening.
You should totally. You should consider.
12-hour drive's easy.
Well,
Seriously,
you know what? If enough people show interest, I will go to Summoners Con instead. But the problem is I need the community to pay for that. I'm not about to ask the community to do that. So instead, we're just gonna hang out because it's cheap. Yep. For the majority of us, besides
that's what we're all
Dom.
about.
But Dom can actually watch the World Finals this year. For the last 2 years, he has not been able to watch the World Finals.
Oh my god, yeah! Last year I was at a wedding, so my brother and I caught the tail end of it at the hotel when we were both wasted and everything because it went on so late and everything as far as we were concerned. And then the year before, I was on a trip that I had committed to long before Worlds even got announced.
When I got shot, on the drive back to the base, I stopped at Columbus, Ohio, actually, and stopped at a bar.
Yeah, I remember that story.
So, I was there.
Lee, what were you saying?
I don't know what bar, though.
I was just going to say, it's ironic that the last 2 years where it's actually been in a time, a time zone that it's been friendly for you guys, and now that you can actually finally watch it in a year that it's completely wrong.
Even last year wasn't that friendly of a time, because I think it started at 11 p.m. or something Eastern time, and because I can remember being shit-faced plastered playing League of Legends at 5 a.m. just after the World Finals got done. So,
well, I mean, it started about 2 a.m. for me. So.
I know, but I mean,
did
this
3
year's
weeks
going to
of
start
2
at
a.m.
3,
stars.
so...
Yeah.
But
this year's going to be awesome for us. It's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's perfect. You get out of work, go have a pint.
This year's Worlds tournament will be the first sporting event that my daughter will watch.
Oh, that's cute.
Nice. Got to get him into the right sports from an early age, so that's good stuff.
And I'll remind her of it when she gets older. Watch the sport first.
All right, guys. That is episode number 184 of the Trinity Force podcast. Carrot Colossus Lee, he joined us from the Ozalo podcast. Say hi.
Thank you, Lee.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. We enjoy the Australian accent. We enjoy the Australian presence, and we much enjoy the Oz LOL podcast. As you are a sister podcast, part of the Trinity Force Network, look for big stuff coming out of us in the next 6 months. I'm very excited for what I am cooking in the background. I'd say we, but it's really me cooking shit in the background. I'm just tossing stuff in a pot, hoping it comes out perfectly. Well, I mean, Dom, let's be honest.
I have the usual hand in it.
You have the usual. Let's kick it forward and make sure it works. So, as Lee drops out of this, we are going to end the podcast on that note, guys. We will see you. One last thing. Monday, join us after the podcast because it's the 1v1 tournament versus Optimus Tom for the first place winner of the Fantasy LCS. That's the perfect freeze frame. You freeze frame like a 70s or 80s show where the show goes, da-da! And it's like Dom's face. But no, so Tom and I technically tied for first place of our fantasy pool. Technically, he won. By the fantasy standards and fantasy rules, he won. However, we have decided to do a 1v1 tournament to declare who is the winner. So,
nice.
With that... But the Trinity Force podcast won the fantasy pool this year by, I don't know, was it 12 points?
We're the
12
best.
points. Yep.
We did our own breakdown of points and how we were going to put it together. Every week we ranked people from 1 to 8. First place player got 8 points all the way down to 1, and we just added those up throughout as it went throughout. And we won by 12 points. So Trinity Force podcast better than the LCS rundown. Suck it. We'll see you all
We're so good.
next week.
We know more about
Bye, guys. Peace.
league than they do.
See you guys.